Welcome back to Braves Bullpen. We are back. It has been too long, but we are back on the air here after what feels like forever. Hello, everybody. I'm Ryan Siegel, joined alongside with Gardie and Gardie, we're now back from the All-Star break. We're a week back into this thing. And truly, there's a lot we can now point the finger at. It's normally either it's the bullpen or it's starting pitching or it's hitting. Now it's four different directions that we can go with this. I'm just going to kind of put the ball in the tee and let you swing away. So, who do you point the finger to at this? I don't think you can.
No, I don't think you can either. I think that you just kind of aptly summed it up. If this was a thesis statement, that little blurb at the top, your scope of work, that's you just summed that perfectly right there. Because it's not just a hitting problem, it's not just a pitching problem. Uh, we are extremely banged up. I mean, just to take a huge step back, something we've already been repeating over and over and over again on the show. But when you're missing your ace pitcher for the entire season and you lose him in, let's call it May. I can't remember specifically. And then same thing with your reigning MVP right fielder who also stole 70 bags and hit over 300 or damn near close to 300 last year. You're really setting yourself up at, three steps behind the eight ball because now it makes sense a little bit when you put it into that frame why Matt Olson over the last 30 games is hitting 126, aka 14 for 111 with 6 RBIs and 39 strikeouts. It's a ghost, a shadow of the guy who hit 50 jacks last season, and makes a lot of sense when you're thinking, oh hey, we got this guy named Ronald Acuna Jr. who's hitting in front of him, who we're terrified to pitch to, and then Dansby Swanson still is another formidable guy. Oh, are we going to pitch to him now too? And down the lineup, Marcell Ozuna, the only guy who seems to be hitting the ball well right now, which we're still very happy that that's the thing he's hitting these days. But we're at a dire situation that they're having a closed door, players only team meeting a week after the All-Star break. Like that's never where you want to be. And as I learned, thanks to the interwebs, the Braves don't really do large scale team meetings to begin with. They usually do it in positional groups or smaller breakout sessions. Like this is what high school looks like in 2017. But I mean, we talked about being on the panic button last time we talked right before the All-Star break happened. And deal or no deal, we had flipped it over. Well, I'm starting to get like 3 inches away from pressing that button because they're just looking like a lost puppy or a hurt puppy caught in a rainstorm right now, the way they're playing baseball.
Yeah, and you mentioned the injuries. You have not only Spencer Strider out for the year early in the year. Now you're down Max Fried. You're hoping he comes back. So there's your number one and your number two. Thank God Chris Sale has dipped into the fountain of youth and found what he had back in. I'm going to go even further back than Boston, go back to Chicago with Chris Sale, White Sox Chris Sale. That's about the best thing the White Sox have going for them right now was that former White Sox Chris Sale is looking like a Cy Young candidate. But when you come into the year and your expected rotation is Sale, Strider, Fried, and you can roll the balls out and play 1, 2, 3, just like that. You've got Ronaldo Lopez throwing more innings than he has since 2019. You have Ozzy Albiez, Michael Harris, out. Ronald Acuna, out. Bryce Elder was basically a flash in the pan at this point now that he's back in Gwinnett and until he finds his mojo is going to stay there. So a lot of this lightning in the bottle stuff that the Braves had kind of gone out the wayside. And to your point, who are you scared of in the Braves lineup that you can now pitch to Matt Olson? It's a lot easier when Matt Olson's, you got to pitch to him because Austin Riley's also hitting 290 behind him. And then when they had Dansby Swanson, he's hitting behind him. Like that was a who do you pitch around lineup. You got Jared Kalenic, who's barely hitting his weight. Michael Harris is on the injured list. There's really no fear in that lineup. And we talked about it. Like it's the same thing that the Yankees see, where after Soto and after Aaron Judge, who are you afraid of in that lineup? It's the same thing here with the Braves. So guys that are still hitting well, like Marcell Ozuna, they can't do it all themselves. And at this point, like you're doing what you see with Aaron Judge. Teams are going to just pitch around him. And that 400 batting average is going to go by the wayside. Sean Murphy, since coming back, basically been a shell of himself. Travis d'Arnaud is outplaying him, and they're now platooning reps at the catcher position. But really, Gardie, like you look at it, they had a lot of games rained out in the last couple of weeks, but they lose 2 of 3 to the Cardinals. They lose both of their what would have been a 4-game set, but a 2-game set to the Reds. They are now dropped 1 to the Mets, who are seemingly the hottest team in baseball coming off the All-Star break. But you mentioned it. They're 9 games back in the loss column of Philadelphia. And that's only growing at the rate you're going. You're a game up in the wild card. That's what you're playing for at this point. Like you're letting the division slip away, and at the rate the Phillies are playing and the way they're pitching, nobody's catching them in the National League East.
No, and I think that one thing that we're really glossing over here is if like we look at it from a mathematical standpoint, we're literally missing 33% of what our regular batting order was last season and the season before, and all 3 of those guys hitting the top of the order too. It's not like it's Orlando Arcia on, not to throw him down, the tubes or anything, but it's not your really 7, 8, 9 guys. It's your 1 through 5s. Like you're missing your leadoff hitter, you're missing your 2 hitter. Like Michael Harris is a strong 5. Like you're really missing, for instance, Ronald Acuna Jr., 337 last year, 80 bases on balls, 73 stolen bases, 41 home runs, 106 RBIs. Michael Harris II, not a big RBI producer, but he had 149 runs scored last season. Ozzy Albies hit 280 last season with 109 RBIs. Like you're just missing so much potency in your lineup. And so it makes a little sense to what we just said. Matt Olson isn't doing well. And when you're missing, 40% of your starting rotation as well. I mean, it's a 26-man roster that's allowed to go to the postseason. You're missing 25%, arguably your best 25% of it too. I'm panicked, but also that's why it makes sense that, the reports are that the Braves aren't really going to make any moves at the trade deadline, because why would they? They have, as we've said a million times before, they have like a 4 or 5 year window here with these guys that they have on long-term contracts. Why try to, throw the baby out with the bathwater to chase something that you can't really probably chase this season, and maybe just, try to limp through the postseason, maybe have a, you got to believe 1969 Mets moment, and move on to 2025, which is a terrible, shitty thing for fans to hear in late July, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, we keep talking about it, and you can keep harping on it. Like Ronaldo Lopez and Spencer Schwellenbeck being in your starting rotation when you were expected to roll Sale, Fried, Strider, Elder, and Morton. Like that was your 5 coming into the season. 2 of them are ripped out right now, and arguably your best 2. It's tough to win baseball games. You also look at the bullpen. Tyler Matzik is hurt. You're relying heavily on guys like, granted, who are pitching well. Like when they're in games, you have Raisel Iglesias, Jesse Chavez, Joe Jimenez. The bullpen isn't bad. It's not great. It's never been locked down great when you turn the ball over in the 6th inning. But you were expected to have starters who could go 7, and you only needed 8 and 9. So
you were also
tough.
expecting to average 6 runs scored a game. So if your bullpen gave up 1 run, and even if they only, the starter pitcher made it 6 and it was a 7-2 game, 7-3 game, your bullpen can be just decidedly above average. And maybe they give up a run or 2 here every 3rd game or something like that. That's fine. Like, because we were also just going to beat the snot out of the ball. But when you're missing so much power and average too, because I think that's a huge part of this that people, especially in today's exit velo, launch angle bullshit baseball forget is no, actually having guys who hit for high average fucking matters. And it's not just about how they're getting on base, it's about the fact that they tend to take more pitches and also opens up at bats for other guys in your lineup in a way that home run guys don't, because they're not as worried. Because it's if they're a two solution hitter, they got a 50% chance. If you're a multi-tool hitter, those odds go down and they actually have to pitch to you.
Absolutely. And again, only time will tell. The hope is that they can limp into the playoffs. And because as we've seen in years past, all you got to do is get to the dance. The Phillies have made the NL Championship Series, the NLCS, the last 2 years as a wild card team because the Braves have won the division. So it is not out of the realm of possibility. The Braves have went to and won the World Series. We're not a division winner. It can be done. That extra 2 games just to get into rhythm of the playoffs can be all the difference. But we're back. We want to hear from you, whether at home, on the road, in Truist Park, out of Truist Park. You know what, Gardie? Maybe we need to quit Quikrete off the jerseys.
Josh.
We whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
A whole nother
that could be a whole show on. We need to get rid of the Quikrete sponsor.
I don't know if we want to. If you don't want to get, we don't want to piss off certain people, who wear velour tracksuits too. So go Quikrete. Don't kill me.
Absolutely. But with that, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Braves Bullpen. See you next time.
Love you, Boopy.